All right. Welcome, everybody. Again, happy Friday. And we're here for yet another exciting
Community Sync
demo. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we have some pretty good content today from UX and some of their design, showing some of their design effort. We got a great update from Avant on some of the performance work that he's been performing. Hey. And then we'll see what else we have. Stephen, maybe you have something? Maybe. Okay, you can think about it. We'll see. All right, so yeah, let's we'll get started with UX and
shopping cart.
Shopping cart.
So just to set some context, so we have Venia version that's out there that everybody can see. After a lot of research and both looking at competitive sort of contemporary shopping experiences as well as talking to folks in the community, agencies and merchants, we are going back to revisit the design for Venia, and this will be the first in a series of designs that you will see kind of unfolding over the course of the next few months, I guess. Which includes some of the learnings we've had from this research and kind of a new design perspective. And so it's mainly Scott Hensley, senior UX designer on my team, and myself that are working on this. Scott's been focusing on shopping cart, and I've been focusing on checkout. We'll be looking at checkout next week, but Scott's going to demo shopping cart today.
Yep, cool. All right, and so these are wireframes, just so mostly focused around sort of the experience, the interactions, and functionality for the thing, and not so much about technically how things will look. Obviously, it's not going to be purple, but so those sorts of things. Also, should mention that the plan is to take these into testing soon, so really have somebody go through these wireframes and really see if the things we think are true. So that we're going to try and start lining up next week. There are still maybe some fuzzy areas in here that we're working on. So this is kind of a work in progress, obviously, but pretty close to done, I think. So yeah, and of course, this is all kind of geared toward toward parity with the functionality that Luma provides today. So I'll just start off here. There is a desktop. There are desktop wireframe designs as well, but I thought we'd just show this in kind of the mobile experience, just for the sake of time. So first, today or with Luma, there's the move to wishlist function. Pretty straightforward. This introduces kind of this concept of panels, which I'm sure you guys are implementing to some degree anyway. But they click this, any wish list they have, or the ability to add one. They select, boom, and of course that item leaves the cart and goes and lives in their wish list. Remove kind of behaves the same way, except it just takes it out of the cart altogether. Other things like edit would send you today. Luma actually goes to kind of a modified product details page. So we still need to do some thinking around that, if that's kind of the experience we want to continue, or something maybe a little more unique, if you will, for the cart experience. But essentially, they would have the ability to go to that product, make some changes to the configuration of it, and apply those, and those would be represented here in the cart as well. And then really, things are pretty straightforward. We just looked at kind of a very simplistic product. So there are other products to take into consideration for this, of course, that Magento provides. Bundled products, group products, those sorts of things that may also introduce some nuance here. But I think our expectation is that this will behave pretty much like this, regardless of product, at least in terms of these controls. Maybe. So anyway, I guess next is really just these kind of features or functionality for the shopper. Things like if they want to sort of have a good understanding of what their shipping is before they sort of proceed into checkout, what are the options, etc. In this version, I have it collapsed, but I think really our thinking is more that this would be expanded or available in sort of inline, if you will, so that the user can see these and be aware of those shipping options right away. But I'll just so imagine then that something like this is actually presented inline in cart. But essentially, what happens is, if we could detect their sort of current location, we might pre-fill those things, which would then help with the calculation of those shipping costs. We'd even default to the cheapest or best, whatever best is. The merchant maybe is able to configure that. So that would be kind of pre-selected. So ideally, a user, when they open this, just goes, yeah, that's cool with me. I have a sense of what the other options are and what they might cost, and apply that, and then that just becomes represented here in the pricing stack. So today, just for context, in Luma, this is all kind of crammed into the pricing stack with a little link that says calculate. You click that, it explodes this form in the middle of everything for you then to kind of fiddle around in. So moving on, the next one, gift card. So obviously if a user or customer, has a gift card, they want to see if it works, they plug it in. They have the ability to check that balance to see if or check the card to see if it's valid and what the balance is. Once they've done that, they wanted to, they could clear that, apply that, bang. And again, it's kind of shown in the pricing stack with the ability to remove if they wanted to. Just again, that's just kind of borrowing directly from how Luma treats it today, where the control to remove it is actually kind of right along with the indication that it's been in the pricing stack. So here, rather than having to go back into that module or whatever to remove it. And a coupon, same kind of thing. We just go like that. Again, sort of shown that it's happened. Remove is down here. I guess some of the thinking there is, at least on my part, is the assumption that if this feels a little clunky, let's say, to have it removed there, or for the remove to be, maybe not the most effective target for somebody, that my assumption is that if they've added something that's reducing the price of their order, they're probably not too likely to remove it. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Again, testing may bear that out. Finally, gift options, things like this, gift receipt, printed card, those kind of things, all kind of happen in this panel. They go there, they do this, and the indication of that. And from there, once they've kind of done everything they want to do, they kind of proceed to checkout, which is an experience I guess we'll talk about another time. So this is unauthenticated cart, so sort of guest checkout, if you will. For authenticated user, there's a couple of other options that may be manifest here that are related to their account, specifically rewards points and store credit are two other sort of options or modules that may be represented here, and that would sort of bring forward the balance of those things, how many reward points they have. They could see it maybe from here, maybe even a collapsed state to encourage them to use those. Store credit, give them a dollar amount and the ability to kind of open that and apply that to the order too. So, but essentially they would behave much the same way as say gift card or coupon might. And really that's kind of it. I could show the desktop version of this if you just wanted to see the layout. Pretty traditional, I'd say. But but I can do that as well. Otherwise, that's really kind of the quick and dirty on cart.
In the desktop mode, is the cart in the drawer, or is it? So right now,
It's a full page.
full page.
Yeah.
So, right, yeah. So there is, I guess that is an important call out for desktop, that there is the mini cart, which, for desktop, we're saying that there wouldn't be a mini cart, there would just be cart. So, whereas desktop, you can have that little sort of mini cart, that's stripped down version of just things like show you what you have in there, the ability to remove them or increase the quantity. Those kind of add them to wish list.
Yeah, because right now in Venio we have the mini cart and we do checkout in the mini cart. You're saying?
Well,
You
you
actually
can
click on the
proceed
cart,
to
right?
check out from mini cart. Yes.
Oh, it's called mini cart. I'm sorry. Yeah, the component is called mini
Oh,
cart.
okay, yeah.
It's on the right. It's on the drawer.
Right.
When you go to checkout, like it shows you those things you're talking about. And then when you go to checkout, it like pops up the checkout inside
Sure.
that drawer. So
But
you're saying the
that's-
mini cart may still be a thing.
The mini
But
cart
the
is
checkout
when
will
you
be the
check
full-
out. Yeah, there are two links essentially. One is to you've seen the mini cart and you just want to check out, so you jump
Is this
past
represented in your desktop?
cart. Yeah, let me. Okay,
You remember
sure.
one, the visual?
Sure. I'm going to stop
visual.
sharing as
What we
I
have-
as I
what we
kind of
have
dig
right
around.
now was never designed with any desktop. It's like that. No, I mean, it's true.
Sure.
That's cool. I was just.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Show that I should have been and then on deck. Okay. Yeah. So here we go. This Blue Jeans window thing. It's always in the room. Oh, and hey. So I'll just take you quickly, I hope, through. Oh, maybe not. I'm wired up for this thing, but let me show.
Oh, we don't have to
you.
maybe put you on the spot with that.
No, it's okay. My bad. But yeah.
I think the bigger call out here for the wider audience on the call is that not only, I think previously, especially to Samya's point, we heavily indexed towards mobile design, right, with Venya. Going forward, as we start to develop these new Venya features, we're not only accounting for the mobile first kind of mindset, but we're also coming back and looking at desktop and making sure that we have rounded out the experience on a desktop viewport as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's the important call out here, regardless of what we're prepared to show on the wireframe.
And this is something we can pick back up next week as well. We can have, if you give UX a slightly, larger time slot, Scott can show the desktop cart and I can go through checkout on both.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
But,
wanted to do a more focused demo, so we also have the time to be more prepared.
Yep.
With,
Sure.
But yeah, as you can see, this is kind of that drawer, if you will, limited functionality, not a lot of what you get from, in cart, sort of indexing on the idea that people from here will want to just jump into checkout. But if they wanted to, with a little effort, they can get down here to edit cart and go to a dedicated page for cart where there is a lot more room. So again, like I said, kind of traditional layout for desktop. And you may see things too. For instance, we're kicking around the idea for testing that on desktop, maybe these sort of recommended product recommendations come in here, whereas perhaps on a mobile experience, we would want to not do that or do it in some other way that isn't sort of run the risk of taking somebody out of that checkout process. So again, concepts to kind of test and verify. So, but yeah, I know I kind of act like I don't know what's going on here, but these things are wired up in a way that sign-in screen wired up in a way that when I'm more prepared, make more sense. But
I like it.
yeah,
Sometimes when you see how the sausage is made, it gets a little dirty.
yeah, it's not a pretty sight sometimes.
It's a bad metaphor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Scott, what
Anyway,
is it?
anyway, I mean,
I feel like we should move on to the next demo.
yeah, I'm kind of don't
So-
want to eat up a bunch of time on this, but if you do have questions, I mean, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to sort of go more in depth on anything specific. Cool.
Great.
Anything else?
Any questions for Scott? Comments, feedback? Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so up next, Ravon.
For a while now, me and Andy, we have been working on the performance stuff for Vinia. And the task I took up was making the service worker be performant and help the UI be more aggressive and like caching, and also saving up time on round trip times for the server. So the first task was to change the service worker into a composable folder structure, because previously it was just one file. It's very hard to maintain one file and like add all sorts of behavioral things or like new functions and stuff. It's hard to maintain. So the first task was to actually convert the service worker into its own folder structure, and like you can have utilities and everything. So if you see, it's like this, but once the webpack is done, it creates just one service worker.js file, and just like previously it used to work, like nothing changes from the working standpoint. That's the first part, and the second is, yeah. So previously, whenever you go to a certain page, you have a different HTML that used to be loading up. Like every time you go to a product page, HTML comes up. But now, with the service worker, irrespective of any page that you go to, it just downloads one HTML file. And if it already has that HTML file cached up, it uses the exact same file. So we are saving up 1 kilobyte per request, and also each request has its own round trip time. That's what we're saving up on. So if you look at example here, it has this is the default route that has the whole HTML file. As an example, we can switch off the network, go to application, delete the Vinia buttons, and if we refresh, oh, sorry, I had to refresh. And the service worker is ready now. It never requested for Vinia bottoms. It only requested for the slash, which is like the default file. So it never is actually getting all those files in the first place. And the second way you can verify that is go to offline, application, and this is this one. Delete that file, do a refresh on the page, and the page still loads up, even though if it's offline. And you don't have that file.
Wait, how did that just work? You deleted the file from cache?
Yeah, because it is actually going for this particular file, irrespective of any file that you request on the top, any HTML file.
I was just saying, how did it render this if you deleted it from the cache and you're offline?
Because it has the default route. The default route is still present in the cache. That's one.
The HTML for the
The
default
HTML
route
file?
and for that specific HTML page were the same.
So what happens is, in the past, like irrespective of any round, like it just downloads the exact same HTML file, even though it already has it in the cache. So we are just wasting like, space and network bandwidth. So now the only difference is that the service worker has a route for all the HTML files and the default route, which is slash. So irrespective of any HTML file you request, it downloads the exact same. And if it already has it, it returns you the existing file. But now the problem arises when you return whatever you have in the cache, and if, let's say, the HTML file changes in the backend, you're running like a stale version of it. For that, we implemented the messaging API. So let's go back online. Everything downloaded just fine. And if I go change the HTML file right now, this is the HTML file that was generated once the webpack was done as well. I'll just add a script, just changing it. Console. New message, anything. You can just put anything. So if you go back to the UI, you do this, you see it showed a message saying, you're being served the stale version, but there's an update available for you. You can click the refresh here. Obviously, this is subject to change. This UX is like sample, I have added it, but I have to consult with you guys and whatever works the best way we can do it.
Well, let's congratulate ourselves. I'm going to be saying so much about this. Great. But let's congratulate ourselves for having extensible and good-looking UX pattern, because we went a long time not having that, where Revance would have had to work hard to make something that would look different than everything else. And now the toasts look fantastic here.
Yep.
If you have to go public with it, I think we're all comfortable with that. So.
Yeah. So you can refresh it from here, and you can see that the new message printed up, which means the new HTML has loaded up.
Yes. That's
What a great example.
That's really cool. If you change again the HTML file, I go to the new page, it again says you're still, like you are running a stale version. You can dismiss it. You can still run with the older version. It's not
What happens if
necessary.
you refresh again? Do you cache that answer? Like, do you say,
Yeah.
we
So
disregard?
if I move, it doesn't show up again saying, because you already canceled it, which means you wanted did it.
That's a move. What if you do like a...
Change again, like again and again, and you go back to any page. It wouldn't, because the thing is, you already canceled it. You said, like, I'm done with this.
Okay.
But
So they'll
you
never
can
get updates?
you should, like, if I just say,
Like
Stephen said so. Ideally speaking, after a while,
Right. It
the,
was then
the service worker will re-download it.
on its own.
Yeah, in the back. So it should have shown up. I don't know why. Let's see.
It's okay. Just trying to make your demo fail.
Let's see.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
What if you tried this?
Yeah, it downloaded now.
What did you do?
I just refreshed the file, like the server. I just refreshed the server,
Oh, the
and
server.
it said like it downloaded new file, but the UI is still running older version.
So
So now, once you refresh, it's actually not going to the server to get that file. So the refreshes are very fast.
Right.
The refresh is instant.
So-
Because it already has the data.
It's already downloaded.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So what is the sort of advantage for the user of not refreshing? Is it something they've done, maybe lost if they?
Like, why not just do
Refresh.
it automatically?
Well, tell them, hey, you need to refresh, and not allow them necessarily to.
Like maybe they're in the middle of interacting with product selections.
Yeah.
And stuff,
Yeah,
and
I
then
guess that
just-
would be the thing, set up these compares or whatever. I've refreshed and now I've lost all that work. I might be pissed, but.
I think it's a great point too, because I think there are different types of content that would necessitate forced refresh, like new pricing information.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to
So I
say,
think,
no, I want to keep.
Yeah. So
To your point, Revant, about speaking with us about the offline, I think that we need to really understand what being offline means and what restrictions it poses, and what are the flex points, and what are the use cases we need to consider for somebody interacting with a part of the screen or a transition. And then once we have that on a, I guess, a page, not a page by page, but an area by area basis of what happens on the PDP, what happens in the cart, what happens during checkout if you were to go offline. Once we have all of those, to Scott's point, I think we need to talk through the use cases. and then come up with a more comprehensive strategy of how, because we may hit that same type of situation at different points in the shopping experience. And we need to talk through those to make sure that we have consistency where we need it.
Yeah. So this was one thing that we have a couple of tickets already, issues created.
Sure.
One is if you're offline, it doesn't make sense to add to cart or all those things because things are subject to change. You might add to cart, but once you come online, it might be that the item
It's
is
not
out of
available,
stock.
yes.
Anything can happen. The price might change.
Yeah, caching is risky for inventory reasons, especially if you're buying something that has a limited number. And I'm saying that's just one example of, because the management of, those types of notifications or errors or, pay attention shopper type scenarios, if we allow them, the more number of operations we allow them to do offline, the more coverage we need when the system does come back online, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we need to discuss, how much do we want to allow, what do we want to allow, how do we want to manage when something goes not as planned, and so on. So it would be nice to set up some time to just talk about this offline.
Yeah, but the most important
Talk
thing
about this offline.
for this,
Sorry.
Yeah, but the thing is, in the past, the app never used to load up, even if it had the data. Because the exact same, it used to look for the exact same file. And since the file is not available, like it used to just crash, like it would give you the standard Chrome error saying you're offline or check the network.
Right.
But at least now we have a working app, even if it's offline, even though the use case of it or even the capabilities of it are like limited, but at least we have something to look at.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah. So, regarding the other one that I was talking about, that particular ticket or the issue, it is handling the use cases of offline. What do you want to allow during an offline mode? Or what do you want to allow when the network is too slow? You don't want to allow...
Payment would be risky in that.
Yeah. That's something I haven't thought of. But
we just need to document all of this and make sure we're tracking each flow and making sure we have the coverage where we need it. So let's maybe set aside some time in the next couple of weeks to talk through this. I think Scott and I would also like to understand what being offline really means.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's it.
Very cool, man. Incredible. I mean, a big thing about this is that the service worker, now being part of the Webpack build process, can respond to different environment qualities at build. So Revath I think you undersold how big of an improvement this is. You showed probably the right thing to show, which is it fulfills some scenarios, but I'm thinking like, man, we can make the current state where you don't have a service worker in development, we can change that so you do, but it behaves very differently.
Yeah.
And we can make it possible to extend service workers because they participate in the actual Webpack build process. It's big and cool. Thank you very, very much.
Actually, one thing, sorry, I forgot. There's this API that is implemented for messaging. So now the UI can talk to the service worker and the service worker can talk to the UI. Like you can offload certain work if you don't want the UI to do it, you can offload it to the service worker, like background sync, like updating data in the back.
Delegation.
Yeah, just delegate it, like let it go. Yeah, it will be part of the next PI, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to demo something less cool. I think. I mean, this is a spike. So before I demo this, I just wanted to preface it with that this is like purely spike. It was just Jimmy and I had some discussions about how we might approach extending the UI, providing an extension framework in the UI. So this code and what you see may never see production. So with that, I'll show it off anyways because it's kind of cool. So there's one thing called there's probably several ideas of extension at Magento, and so I want to make sure being relatively new here, I might talk about it different than what people think. But what I'm talking about here is sort of UI blocks, like injecting content in the UI, and the sort of like React extensions, if you will. So just as an example, I wrote up some React components that we could use. But let's just say that you wanted to extend your category page or your main page with some like product recommendations, and you'd want it to exist right here in this big empty white space. So I will show you the code for that right now. So the extension component. Oh yeah, sorry. Can you make that top thing go away, or is that people on the call don't see that? I guess they can. That's fine. So the basic concept here is that we have in Venia concept, we expose this extension component that takes in props, and those props can be the children or the target ID. And all it does is it just shoves into this map those children based on that, keyed by that target ID, and does nothing else. So inside your Venia, inside your root file, your index file, this is in Venia concept, you might have an extensions folder, and you might have a product recommendations folder that does some stuff and renders some images. And then in your main, in your index file, underneath the app context, you would just render it. You'd say, I want to extend this naming is all up for debate, but this is like the location of where the extension will be, and I want to put product recommendations there. And so this, we would like publicize this API probably and say like, this is a list of these extension points, and this is where they'd exist. Where's my file? So inside the main component, yeah, what's up?
Those IDs, are those CSS selectors?
No, so I'm going to get there.
Okay.
So this is the main component in Venia UI. So your app has a bunch of structure in it, and eventually there's a main component in there somewhere. And if you looked at the React here, you would see that this is the main component right here, and it's got a header, it's got divs and stuff inside it. And oops, I just did something I don't. Okay. But what we would do in our UI components is we would sprinkle portals. We're calling it could be whatever the name, doesn't matter. It's a component and just says my ID is this thing. And so we happen to put one that's before children. We happen to put one that's after children. You can see how the naming was created here. It's the main class. It's an extension point, and it's after the children here. So you might go in your code. You would say, okay, I know that main EP after children is this space, and I want product recommendations to exist there. So you would just add the extension code here, and it would work. And that's exactly what has just happened. There's also the concept of extensions that don't care about targets. So this one just needs a root. We would add like a root portal, and that welcome toast code uses some stuff that we've exposed recently, like the toast and user context. And all this does is it says if the user's logged in, show them a welcome toast. So this extension sign in, and when they sign in, boom, they have a welcome toast. That's an extension. So these are all just React components that are targetable to certain areas within the code that we have designated beforehand. Basically it. One more thing to show off is that extensions can overload an extension point and still exist together. So I don't know if it's possible in Magento to have like extensions targeting the same point and both exist, or if they overwrite each other in the UI. But this one just like this is two separate extensions. I just wrote some JSX that says I'm not even an extension, I'm just some DOM. And then here's another one that's also of some DOM. And you can see here they're just siblings in the UI here inside that portal, two divs. So again, if you have a React component and you want it to exist in the UI, this is sort of a framework that would allow you to eject that React component at a designated location that we in our UI components have created. But also because portals is sort of like we may expose that, like you can write your own portals, and if you write your own components, you can put your portals wherever you want, and then other people can say like, add this thing in this component that's a marketplace extension that also has a portal. So that's like one take on extensions. May not be the whole take on extensions. And again, we might throw this away. So,
as we would with anything, it's still
right,
really,
and
it's still
that's
really good
yeah.
to
The spike exists in an issue, so if you have any ideas or thoughts about it, feel free. I wrote this up before writing the code. These are some questions about things that I wanted to answer in the spike. Obviously, I haven't done pros and cons yet. And then I have the actual PRs to show off that code. But yeah, the whole point of this is to just spin it up and spend a few days trying it out and
Build to learn.
Build.
yeah. Yep.
That's
cool. And
Cool.
yeah, that's it. Cool. Not nearly as functional as this.
Don't just give a demo.
We've got a paired demos here, right? It's not a
Stop
competition.
dissing your demo.
Or is it? Great. Any questions for Stephen?
Oh, the screen is very blank.
God, so blank.
All right. I only lost one person on those. I lost two.
Oh, man. It's competition. All right. So I think that's it for today. Unless anyone else, roundtable discussion, topics.
Yeah, we're here
comments?
to listen. There's so much going on for MLEU that I don't like have a big roundup. I'd just be chattering. Come to MLEU.
Okay.
Probably still
Yeah.
time, right? And
Yeah.
we're
When
doing
is
a
it?
lab and we're doing
It's
a
on Sunday.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the lab?
So MLEU starts next week. We have a contribution day on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We have the official event starts on Tuesday, of which you should definitely go and catch the PWA talk by Mr. Zetlin and Eric Irway on Tuesday. And then we have 2 lab sessions on Wednesday morning. We'll be running through hands-on time with PWA Studio, getting it set up, customizing, so on and so forth. So if you're going to be at MLEU, feel free to attend. If you're not going to be at MLEU, you know,
That's how they say it.
we'll be thinking about
In the
you.
EU.
The
Blue.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for our demo today. So we will see everyone next week. Onwards and upwards.
Bye.
Smash like and subscribe. Yeah.
Smash that like.
Press X to honk.
Press X to home.
Yeah.
It's a new one. That's a new
Did you
one.
tell them our team
All right.
name?
Thanks, everyone.
Right?
And what is our team name?
Untitled Geese.
Yeah, we already talked about it.